Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of Fireside Chat. For those that are listening and watching on the Wednesday, we have pre recorded this because of unfortunate circumstances that arose. We were unable to make the Friday live session on Twitch, but we're not going to leave the. Say that again?
Great apologies.
Yeah. But we're not going to leave the audience without knowing for YouTube and the podcast for those that actually follow us there, of which some brilliant news. Twitch, we're now up to 71 subscribers.
Hell yeah.
And YouTube has managed to hit one of my small milestones, which hopefully we'll actually start getting the message spreading a bit more. So we've hit 25 subscribers from a scratch YouTube channel as well. So with the introductions out the way, let's say hello and welcome to today's guest, I should say, Lou, who is playing Aurora in Dice and Destiny.
Hello. I play Aurora or Aura, and yes, today I'm going to be answering a bunch of questions I have been told.
Yes, you will indeed. Should we just jump straight in then and start with something nice and light, I think, to begin with. So with the way the game has been so far in throughout the campaign, what's your immediate thoughts on Albion and the world in general and what you've seen of it so far?
I think it's quite interesting. It gives very much the UK if the UK had fantasy like intertwined into it. Which tends to be my favorite type of fantasy, so I'm definitely not complaining.
Excellent. That's kind of the beat I was trying to hit with the campaign, so I'm actually glad that that's coming across properly. But when we first met your character in Albion, you've been clinging to this idea that this is all a prank or a LARP. Why do you think it is that Aura needed to deny the reality of Albion for... And is she still denying the reality of Albion as it is, considering what's happened in the last session?
Loaded question. I think for her, she's very much a realist. Everything has to be real. She doesn't like fantasies. She doesn't like imagination. She doesn't like thinking of grandiose things in the future because she's probably been stung by it in the past. So when people are being like, oh, we're in this fantasy land and there's magic and this is all so cool, she's like, okay, cut the crap. What are we talking about? What is going on? This cannot be real. There is no sound logic behind this.
Fair enough. So, I mean, would you put this down to fragility or resilience, or just exactly what you said in terms of like sticking with the now, sticking in the moment, and just praying that things will return back to normal at some point soon?
I think it's a mix of that, and also she's very hard-headed. She knows what she knows, and she knows it well.
Yeah.
And she doesn't like change. She doesn't believe in such drastic change. She knows change can happen, but change where you're in a magical land all of a sudden, that's not change that happens. That's not a thing.
Right. So your character is very, very much grounded in reality there regarding everything that's going on. Just wishing essentially
Yeah.
to be back on the farm rather than where you are currently. Would
Yeah,
that
she doesn't like people. She prefers animals, is why she works with them.
fair enough? Well, let's get into some of that. Some of the ideas of identity and displacement with your character in that regard. Then, so one of the things that's happened in one of the episodes was Elizabeth, the tailor, literally dismantling your dungarees to make the patterns or to see what the patterns were. Literally
Mm-hmm.
unpicking your real world identity. Um, how do you see that moment reflecting your attempts between holding on to your old life and sort of this new life that you've got, having been absorbed almost into Albion, as it were?
Um, I think she hasn't really viewed it too heavily. She's kind of been like, her mother would have always picked and remade clothes. They were a thrifty family. So for her, it's just like, okay, this is a cool tailor who is in a LARP and she's found a really cool pattern because Aura loves her dungarees. She found a really cool pattern for dungarees, and I mean, I trust her to fix it, and I'm going to get some free clothes out of it.
Yeah,
I might as well let her check the pattern out. It's a pretty pattern. It's really flattering. So I don't think she's kind of linked that as heavily as a, oh wow, this is like my life. She's not really, I think she's so stressed and airheaded about so many other things that that's not something that's past her head yet.
fair enough. So even though the metaphor was there, it's kind of gone over Aura's head, I'd say. Yeah,
Mm-hmm,
fair
for
enough.
sure.
One of the things that you've often insisted throughout the series so far is, and I quote, "I'm a farmer. I have cattle to raise." Um, do you do you think that's humility, or is it is it there to sort of shield Aura from the weight of whatever may be in tow, the weight of destiny, as it were?
It's definitely a 50-50 split. For her, she knows she has responsibilities. It already took so much time to get those camping days off. She had to book it. She had to get extra staff in. Like, she has responsibilities. She
Mm,
has at least 1,000 cattle waiting for her. But it's
fair
also very
enough.
much a shield of what she knows. She knows she has 1,000 cattle waiting for her, and she knows exactly how to get home and exactly what she's going to do as soon as she gets home.
That would
Whereas
be
here, she doesn't know.
fair enough. So that would be a very, very interesting thing to learn about, though. What would Aura do as soon as she got home? Say she could get home in an instant.
Um, First thing she'd do is she'd probably go to her ma and her pa and give them a hug and a kiss because he's so worried that they're not going to be alive by the time that she gets back. Like that's stuck in her head now of, oh my god. Um but then probably she would go on the back of a quad with her dog and just go around, check that all the cattle are that have been fed, and just probably stay in the middle for a while, take in the country air,
Mm,
look at her cows, just being cows and being stinky.
Fair enough. So
Jealous.
fairly
Yeah.
chilled return, other than the emotional reunion with your family. And speaking of family, there's also the wake nuts, Albion's version of coffee. Um, does that comfort you, or Aura, I should say, or does it make you feel more homesick?
For her, at the time at least, because obviously there's been a little bit of a shift afterwards, but at the time,
Mm,
she found it absolutely hilarious. She was like, "Yep, nope, this is very similar to the coffee I'd have at home." Um, and she was like, she likes trying new brands. She's not one of those people that's dedicated to one brand of tea or coffee. She
yeah.
will try many. So for her, she found it quite nice to see, okay, they have coffee here at least. I can wake up in the morning.
Fair enough. I think that's something that a lot of our audience will agree with.
Yeah.
I, and to be honest, I wouldn't survive in the world without coffee. Um, so yeah, that's a fair response, I would say. So one of the things that occurred on the journey into Ironstead, we're going back to, I think it was session 2, possibly session 3 here, is that Elizabeth tapped you on your shoulder and cast Calm Emotions, leaving you to sort of say afterwards that you didn't like that someone involuntarily made you quote unquote high. Um, how does that affect your trust in others, and how does that affect your view of magic as a whole at the time? And I'm asking this question because we're going to circle back to it later when we get to most recent set of incidents that occurred. But how did that event make your character feel, or how did that affect your trust in others in this world?
She definitely did not like that. It was kind of it was very much taking it was doing something without her consent, which is a really big no-no. She didn't like that it was changing her as like she couldn't react how she wanted to react. Um, and she didn't like that she thought it was a cheap trick. She thought that someone had genuinely like put something on her, like maybe pricked her or something
Mm.
and gotten her high. And she doesn't do that particularly. Like she will have in her like teenage years, but she's an adult now. She doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah,
And she definitely did not like the reminder. That was so out of pocket for her. And it definitely would have if she had realized it was magic and truly believed it was magic, it definitely would have left a sour taste in her mouth, thinking magic can do that.
yeah,
That's not great. I don't like that.
fair enough. So, do you think your character will ever embrace magic as a tool, or do you think your character's more likely from this moment to see it more as a violation of your autonomy as a character, as an individual within Albion?
I think it depends on the type of magic. If it's like utilitarian magic, magic where she can use it to help her do something, practical
Mm,
magic that doesn't cross anyone's boundaries of consent. I think she will learn to embrace it very slowly. Things like she doesn't have access to Mage Hand, but if she did have access to Mage Hand, she would love that spell because that's an extra hand to help her do things.
yeah,
But things like Calm Person or things that kind of like Charm Person, stuff like that, like she definitely wouldn't like spells like that. That would be the type of magic that she'd be strongly against. Like, why are you doing that? That's wrong. What are you doing? That's
Oof.
still a person.
Let's hope that Lou doesn't meet too many bards then in the world. Sorry, let's hope Aura doesn't meet too many bards in the world then.
Oh god.
We all know how mischievous they can be. So, moving on to slightly more recent events. One of the characters that you met in the most recent session that we've played was Brock, who, shall we say, for lack of a better way of putting it, Brock's words at certain points throughout hit you quite hard, and your character seemed to be shaken for quite a long while after the teasing that Brock did to Aura. Was that really about that moment, or did it stir something much deeper in Aura's past?
It probably was a mix again. So Aura's a very old-fashioned Mississippi country girl. She is Christian to the bone, and that's how she was raised. She did prayer every night with her mom.
Yeah.
And she moved to the UK, and the UK is much less strong on religion in that aspect. There's a lot more atheism. There's a lot less people that go to church or pray every day. And there isn't as strong of a want for religion here as there is in America in her home. So she already knows a lot of people are telling her, like, even just out of spite or to be horrible, that God doesn't exist, God isn't real. And obviously that hurts. It hurts for someone that is really, really religious. I'm not Christian myself, but I am religious in other ways. And I totally would understand how horrible it is. And so for someone to just so bluntly say that your God doesn't exist here, and if you talk to other people about your God, they're going to think you're crazy. She just lost it. It's like, how rude. I don't say that your gods don't exist.
Yeah.
Let me have my God. I know my God exists. Let me have that. Okay, yes, some of my sayings are related to it, but please just give me some grace.
Fair enough. And to be honest, I think for anyone that got moved into another world, it'd be probably a very similar thing. It's like, who do I pray to? Well, the only God I know, or the only
Yeah.
the only being that I've ever felt comfort with. And yeah, I can imagine having that taken away from you, or teased, because maybe where you've gone to, especially in this case in Albion, the god that you were speaking of, or the savior, or however you wish to phrase it, that you were speaking of, had never been heard of. So they were looking, yeah, from their perspective, it's like, who, what? Why don't you try one of the more common gods? But from your perspective, it's like, well, none of your gods exist on our world. It's so, yeah, I can completely understand why that would hit quite hard. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah. Overall, though, what's your opinion of Brock? What's Aura's opinion of Brock? I should correct myself.
I love Brock. Brock is great. Aura's opinion of Brock is that he is very stuck up. That he is a fragile man that can't accept that other people have different opinions and has to knock them on it. She really does not like that man.
Fair enough. We'll see how that rivalry develops, whether a friendship will bloom or otherwise. We shall
Oh,
see. So the next question that I've got is more on sort of like prophecy and destiny, as it were. So Aura actually triggered Elizabeth and Elizabeth's recognition of a prophecy in the last episode, where her ears pricked up when you said dice and destiny. So my question is, how would you interpret that moment? Like with Elizabeth sort of pushing, you must be touched by destiny and fate must be on your side, etc., etc. Like, how does those sorts of moments affect you or Aura? How do you interpret them? Do you feel maybe cursed by destiny, or is there a part of you or your character that actually longs for it despite your current thoughts and feelings? Maybe.
at the time, Aura was still very much in the headspace of this is a LARP. You're all actors. You're trying to get us into it. I get it. It's your job. If she were to introspectively look back on it, it would freak her out. But in her headspace, she'd desire purpose. In the real world, she has great purpose. I think that personally, as a person, I think farmers have one of the most important jobs in society. You know, they feed the people, and she would also believe that. I feed the people, I raise the cattle, I bring milk, I bring meat. And
Yeah.
here she doesn't do that anymore. So having that prophecy, having importance, I think will really help her not spiral too much more. Because she's already spiraling a little bit.
Yeah, and that was quite that was made quite obvious actually within the church chapel scene that occurred, which we will spiral back to. But when her ears pricked up, and you mentioned Dice and Destiny, Elizabeth actually spoke of the Obsidian Stone of Power and a couple of the crowns that were related to the prophecy. Although she didn't drop much in the way of hints, she did drop a few breadcrumb clues. Is this a path that you think Aura would pick up on if she sat down and had a think about everything that's occurred so far? Or do you think this is something that maybe she'd need to get pushed by the rest of the group or by one of the gods, Shantae, for example, to sort of go along that sort of path with the destiny
I
that's
think,
possibly laid out for her?
yeah, I think definitely for her, she would probably need a little bit more godly intervention. Obviously, like her world has just been rocked and turned on its side. For the first time in her life, she has prayed and she has gotten a tangible response. Pardon me.
Mm.
An actual person speaking. Um, and so I think she's gonna kind of be in shock for a bit, and then she's just gonna kind of fall back into old habits of, okay, well, now I have a deity here that's willing to talk to me and protect me. I'll just become a farmer here for a while, try and get back home, and pray to this deity until I can get back to mine. Instead
Very
of
well.
thinking of being an adventurer. Whereas if the deity that she has contacted was like, well, no, you should probably actually go fulfill that prophecy. She'd be like, ah, well, if a god tells me to, I guess
Fair
I don't have
enough.
much of a choice.
Fair enough. Well, I think that's actually answered my next question, to be fair, which was if Aura had the chance to reject the prophecy outright and walk away from Albion and all of it, would you take it? I think the answer is yes, isn't it?
Oh, if she could reject the prophecy and just go home, absolutely. She wants nothing to do with this place. She doesn't like it. She wants to go home. She wants to say hi to her ma, her pa, and her dogs, and whack some cows with a big blue stick.
Fair enough. Well, we'll move on to the next part of this, the chapel and the divine, shall we?
Indeed.
What were your initial thoughts when you were in the chapel? Like you walked into the chapel, you sat on one of the pews and you started praying. What thoughts would have been going through Aura's head having had the experience almost all her life of never really having her prayers answered by any god or deity? What what was Aura thinking would happen?
She was thinking the normal thing would happen. She was thinking she would get a really big sense of comfort from her prayer.
Mm,
She knows that in this case, God is listening to her at all times, and that brings her comfort. That brings her hope. She knows there's something bigger than her that is listening and that is helping. She doesn't need a tangible answer. So she wasn't expecting anything. She was really expecting to go in there and kind of use it as a soothing mechanism to self-regulate herself.
fair enough. I mean, that's quite an interesting idea, and probably one that many people who do actually go to church, especially in the UK, like more of the older generations, I would believe, but those that do go to church would probably view it in the same sort of way. It's a place where they can go, they can gather their thoughts whilst they offer up a
Yeah.
prayer and just try and connect with themselves, uh, if not God, at least connect with themselves and find an answer.
Absolutely. I think that obviously again I'm really trying to portray this hyper religious person, which is something that I'm not. So I've done research into it, and it's she's absolving herself of her sin, but not absolving herself of herself. She's taking herself there and she's saying, help me with my anger, help me with my frustration, and walking out with that anger and frustration actually tangibly being helped. I feel like that's such a big part of religion, that just a genuine belief can actually help so much with what you're actually praying for.
Yeah,
So
no, that
that's all she was really expecting.
fair enough. So when you prayed to Jesus, your prayer was actually answered by three different deities. Um,
Indeed.
the first one was not very interactive, just more, okay, let's give you this sense of calm within the chapel, within yourself. Um, the second deity was slightly more talkative, um, saying a few words here and there. And then the third deity, which was Shantae, who actually seemed to get you to an extent with your farming roots, as it were, although more agriculture than crops rather than cattle. But even so, how did that sort of connection or that presence of other gods affect Aura within this when she didn't get the answer or she didn't get the result that she was necessarily expecting from Jesus, which would have been the silence?
I'm gonna be really honest. She thought that the first deity probably was Jesus. Especially if they didn't actually say anything. They just kind of gave her a sense of comfort. And in her head, how that transpired is that Jesus kind of offered her up to the pantheon in this world, which is what really startled her, because then all of a sudden, after this feeling of calm, deity started speaking to her, and they were trying to work out which deity would be best. And the first deity that spoke to her was kind but kind of shy, I think.
Yes.
And she was and obviously Aura was thoroughly freaked out, being like, whoa, I'm not supposed to be hearing anything, which probably didn't help the situation with the shyness.
Yeah.
To then have obviously this other deity who really reflected Aura's own morals and stances and what she found to be important. I think she was relieved, in a sense, of, okay, maybe I am in this different place. Maybe I can't deny it anymore, but I'm definitely not alone.
Yeah.
I definitely have something in my corner now. And she understands.
Yeah. Would you say that's something that your character, that Aura, was looking for actively? Like, to have something in her corner, that to not feel alone in this new world?
Definitely. Like, subconsciously, definitely was a thing. I think now more than ever, she was praying in hopes that she had something just to ground her, just to really help her put one foot in front of the other without falling like a deer and falling. She doesn't. Again, Aura is always this person that knows. She's very, very smart in what she does, an expert in her field, if you would.
Yeah.
And now she knows nothing. She's so out of her element. She does not know what she is doing, where she is, what is going on. And it's odd for her. Like, she's out of her element. She's never out of her element normally, but now she is.
Fair enough. Talking of being out of your element, Shantae also said during her conversation with you, and I quote myself here, your gods have stopped caring. How did that affect Aura? How were you afflicted by that statement? How deeply afflicted were you, or your character?
She was very deeply, like, that kind of it stunned her into silence for a bit. It really shocked her. Because what do you mean? What do you mean my gods have stopped caring? My god could never stop caring. That's not something he does.
Fair enough. So, with multiple deities reaching out to you in a single, like, not even at night, like in a single day, in a single morning, more to the point, does Aura feel like she's been chosen to be looked after by a god, or is it possible that there's like a sense of doubt or a seedling of maybe feeling like a pawn in a game that you don't understand?
Or definitely doesn't think that of the gods. She always views gods as these holy, righteous people. Whether that is correct or not in the D&D pantheon is something we're going to discover. But she definitely doesn't think that she's being used. She'll always assume that a god has the right intentions for her,
Fair enough.
as long as they line morally with her.
Mm.
Obviously, there are some gods that will have their best intentions for her, but not line morally for her, so she doesn't view them as the best intentions for herself.
Yeah.
Um, so she's a little worried that it hasn't been fully selected what god she has been essentially passed to.
Right.
But she's
Would it be fair to say like she's been left in the care of by
yeah,
that's how Aura's sort of looking at it.
yeah, it's kind of like I can't be there for her in this world. Please look after her for me till you bring her back.
Mm. And
Is kind of viewing it.
fair enough. And now that you've actually spoken with a deity or a god, as it were, or a goddess in this case, if you did find yourself going back to Earth and back on your farm and offering up a prayer in a church, and suddenly heard an answer to your prayer because you're now having come back to Earth, now actually sort of familiar with the idea that actually they can answer you, how would Aura react?
I suppose it would depend on the deity that answered her. If it was the deities from this world that traveled, um, it would shock her for a little bit, but she wouldn't be upset.
Mm.
If it was the Christian god,
Yep.
uh, I think she would freak out in like the best way possible. I think she'd be so giddy. I think she'd be so happy. Be like, oh my god, oh my god, literally, why?
Fair enough. So part of the journey within the chapel and part of you meeting Shantae was she made you go on a journey. And
Yes.
what an incredible journey that was, being dragged across the astral sea, dragged across space until you saw that pale blue dot, and then getting closer and closer at what was quite literally a breakneck speed, of it all sort of zooming in and coming down right down to the area that you actually went missing from. Um,
Yeah.
when you saw the Lake District again, how did you feel at first?
At first, I was like, okay, you're showing me my memories. Because obviously, that was the last thing I'd remember from Earth.
Mm,
That was her first reaction, but it was quickly switched into a, oh no. Oh, this is not even the same plane of existence anymore.
yeah,
They think we're dead.
or at the very least missing.
And she freaked out. It's definitely not something that you expect to see.
Hmm.
Um, everyone looking, and she was worried. She was worried once again for the responsibilities that she has.
Mm,
Uh, she has responsibilities to her farm. She has responsibilities to her workers, her family. And now she's missing. She's missing in action. That freaks her out. She's never been missing in action. She's always been there. She's reliable.
yeah,
And now she's not being reliable. But not by her own fault, which upsets her even more. It's like I can't even control it.
yes, which is understandable. I'd be quite frustrated myself, to be fair. But hearing the words from the police officer as they shouted, they've they've been gone for 28 days. How did that make you feel? Like guilt, longing, something else?
Panic. There was no guilt it was panic settling in.
Mm.
Because, well, they've only been here for, what, 2-3 days?
Yeah.
Maybe 4? And 28 days have passed.
Yes.
That's a large multiple of 8, I think, if we're going for 3 days, around about. So per day here, over a week passes that I'm missing.
Mm-hmm.
How am I ever going to recover? How long is this going to take for me to get home? When I get home, will it be the same year? Will people have aged on without me? Will my farm even still be my farm? Will my parents have sold it? Will I have a home? Will I have family? Am I gonna get home to the point where it's even home anymore? Or am I just going back to Earth? And that is where the big panic comes from, because how does one even comprehend that? That's terrifying.
Yep. So your first thoughts after going on that journey was of your parents. I think I'm right when I quote this. My father's old and my mother will think I've been kidnapped or taken. Do you fear more for them or for how they'll remember her if she never returns?
She fears more for them. She's always had a positive relationship with her family. She's never left
Mm.
angry. Like, they never go to bed upset with each other. They're very hardcore about that. She has really good core family values.
Yeah.
But her parents are getting older now. And her uncle passed, and now that she knows that that's in her father's line, she's scared that he won't live for much longer. And her mum, bless her, has gone through so much. She's aged before her years. She's scared of how they'll survive without her. She's their only child. She kind of views herself as owing it to them to help them retire and help them live out the rest of their days for all the effort that they put in with her.
Fair enough. If you could send one message back to your family right now, and who knows, maybe a deity can make it happen. But what would that message be?
I'm safe. I'm alive. I promise I will come home.
Considering the time difference, yeah, that would hit hard though, wouldn't it? If you managed to
Yeah.
return home, but found out it was say 3-4 years later compared to the relative amount of time that you'd spent
Yeah.
in this world.
She's definitely scared that it'll take too long for her to get home, but she'd want to spark hope. She'd want to
Yeah,
spark hope in herself and in her parents. Of like, okay, my daughter's alive, she's well, and whatever is going on, she will sort it and she will come home. She never breaks her promises.
fair enough. So, with that experience, does Aura truly believe that you've been pulled from Earth, taken from Earth now, or do you see yourself as missing, or is there still something in the back of your head that's like, no, this is all make believe?
In her head, she's kind of debating at 50-50 of whether she's just having some whack-ass dream or whether she has been now teleported. Like, she no longer believes it's a Ren fair, okay? That's gone now. That's past.
Oh, thank God.
But she could be having a really crazy mushroom dream from those mushrooms.
I thought I thought we'd resolved that it wasn't the mushrooms in a couple of episodes.
In Dreamland, time moves different, right? So the mushrooms could still be affecting her if it was a dream. So she's kind of 50-50 on whether, man, she'll probably need something to like her make sure it's not a dream. As soon as it's like confirmed to her that it's not a dream, which is probably going to be during combat.
Mm-hmm.
In all honesty, like the first time that she's like hit in combat and it's like not someone just pinching her or like giving her a punch on the shoulder, but someone trying to hurt her or something trying to hurt her, I think, and her getting hurt.
Yeah.
I think that'll kind of cement it in her head, like, okay, this doesn't happen in dreams. Dreams aren't supposed to do that. Oh no.
Fair enough. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens very, very soon.
Great, so I cemented that she's gonna get hit by something now. Got it.
Well, maybe, maybe not. I mean, it depends on if they can actually land their attacks, I suppose. My dice rolling can be terrible. Especially during combat for some weird reason.
No, that's so real.
Oh dear. So, anyway, as we're drawing to a close on this fireside chat, I've got just a couple more questions, and that's all really. The first is that Aura's now been touched by the gods and magic. Just simple yes or no. Do you feel empowered by these forces?
Oh, pardon that. Yes, for sure.
Awesome. And what scares Aura more? The fact that you have little control over your fate currently, or that you might secretly want the destiny being offered?
The second option. The she might secretly want that.
Fair enough. And my last one is right at the end of the chapel scene. We had another deity, a red-headed woman, reach out and touch Jess on the shoulder. Bearing in mind, Jess is a psychologist and very logical and very quantitative and qualitative with her psychology and reasoning. How do you think that's affected Jess? Seeing a goddess appear like that and give her a wink.
She's a bit concerned because it's like, I hope this isn't a trickster god. I've only heard legends of them, but I hope this isn't a trickster god from that behavior. Also, it's the reason that she got on with Jess so well, because they both have this logical thing. And yes, okay, Jess wasn't religious, but being religious wasn't Aura's only trait.
Yeah.
Especially not when she was on Earth. Obviously, she kept her religion more to herself. She didn't want to impose it on other people. It's more here where it's like become this heavy coping mechanism that she has needed.
Yeah, fair. And that's a fair response. So throughout all of this, are there any other comments or notes or interesting facts that you can drop about Aura and current goings-ons with her character? Her as a character, I should say.
I think Aura's going to drastically change very quickly in the next coming session or two. And I think that she's suddenly going to take the magic that she has been granted with and definitely use it to her advantage, especially if combat were to arise. I think Especially since we've slightly changed her class to use cleric based spells, and I think that makes so much more sense for her.
Yeah,
On the fact that yeah, she would pray for her spells. That makes sense, and I
fair enough.
think she's gonna become much less of a skepticist and much more of a powerhouse for the party in the
That
next coming session.
that is something that has been missing from this party so far, from what I've noticed, and that is a good healer, someone who's a bit of a powerhouse there. I mean, we've got the quiet observant, still yet to make them rage. People within the party, Aspen. Sorry. But Aspen's now got an iron rod that she can use as a quarterstaff, as it were. Um, that she won from Brock, so we'll see how she goes and how she fares using that. But otherwise, do you see yourself becoming the healer of the party, or are you? Do you see yourself becoming more of a resolute war cleric, as it were?
um, I see a solid in between. I see her definitely packing a punch. Like she's not gonna be a backliner that
Mm,
just does healing, but she is gonna have those healing capabilities of like putting up sanctuary and then putting mass healing word
yeah.
when she gets to those spells. But also much like a fellow person that I have had cleric spells, um, she's gonna blast a lot, as that is my favorite spell.
Fair enough. Well, with that, I don't really have any more questions for this fireside chat, and I think we are good to say goodbye to everyone, unless the audience has any questions that they'd like to ask Aura. Nope, no questions coming in. Well, in that case, we shall say goodbye. Bye.
Bye bye.
And we look forward to seeing you as we play our game live on Friday. Be there on Twitch, twitch.tv/kettle underscore and underscore dice. Bye.
Bye bye.